team up you always needed but never knew you wanted. It's Red Sonja and Vampirella meet Betty and Veronica. It's a little bit older. This is the trade for the first issue. The reason I'm doing that is because the second, it was a miniseries, 12-issue miniseries, so 6 issues. Then volume 2, which is due out in September, is going to collect the other 6. And it's really cool. The second one has a Back to the Future kind of homage cover. But anyway, odds are if you're over 40, or probably even younger, someone in your family, even if you said you didn't like comics, has probably gotten you an Archie comic, or you picked one up at a grocery store. You know, there's World of Archie, Archie Andrews, Archie Digest, yeah, so many. Archie, before Riverdale even, kind of reinvented itself a little bit. Like, they had another line of Afterlife with Archie, which was really cool. It was like the Night of the Living Dead with Archie people. Sabrina the Teenage Witch, you know, more of a horror thing. Then they had Jughead the Hunger, where he's a werewolf. Vampironica, where Veronica's a vampire. Yeah, it was really neat. And then they even had the Jughead versus Vampironica. They're really neat books. And then Riverdale hit. Riverdale just exploded. And rightfully so. I've often said if you don't watch Riverdale and you're a horror fan, you're truly missing out. I mean, season 1, you know, who killed this guy? Cheryl Blossom. You know, who killed her brother? Jason Blossom. Somebody shot him in the head, dumped him in the woods while Archie's fucking his teacher. What happened? Season 2 is a serial killer on the loose, the Black Hood. Season 3, there's a crazed religious cult. Well, they're not really a religious cult. They're playing like some kind of fucked up Dungeons and Dragons game. You know, and then you've got the next season, you know, did Jughead murdered? It's a secret society. We do a time jump episode. That was the only season I didn't like. I think that was the 5th season where they did the time jump. And the only reason I didn't like it was it jumped like 5 or 7 years in the future and nobody bothered to grow a beard, a mustache, or change their hair at all. So that was kind of stupid to me. But now, you know, there's like an alternate reality and Jughead can go between the two worlds of Riverdale and Rivervale. They're fighting a guy that has, he's like a sorcerer that sold his soul to Satan. Because of this crossover riff, you know, they have Jughead's a mind reader. He's got, you know, Tabitha can time jump. She can time travel, actually. I was going to say Vampironica. Veronica has, like, poison in her blood that she can, like, kill people with. Betty can see if your aura is good or bad. And Archie has, you know, superpowers. Well, he's super strength. But he has weakness. Cheryl's, like, a full-blown witch now. And she can, like, project fire. And people are dying. And they bring him back with Sabrina as a necromancer. Anyway. Archie's changed. Watch Riverdale. Vampirella's been around forever. Her origin's been retrofitted a few times. Different publications. I got it. We cover more of that, though, in my Vampy Warren Omni deep dives. But in our new world, you know, her and Red Sonja are pals. They kind of like team up. They hang out together. Well, there's some murders happening in Riverdale by this weird religious cult. I always say religious, but I hate to say it. But like, this cult is killing murders. Vampirella and Red Sonja are on the case. They go to Riverdale to investigate this, and they run into Betty and Veronica, who are covering it for their school newspaper, which has as much heat on it as a normal paper, in that town anyway. Let's take a look at it, and then we'll do a quick final thought. All right, here we go. This is the trade. This is the first. Red Sonja and Vampirella meet Betty and Veronica. We do have volume 2 coming out. I believe it's coming out pretty soon. It's very nice. This is a soft cover trade. It has some nice extras that we'll get into. But like I was saying, the plot of this is, I like how they do some of the old school art mixed with the old school Riverdale art. And some of the stuff just looks beyond gorgeous. But there's a bunch of murders happening in Riverdale, and they kind of have a paranormal-like feel to them. As you can see, it starts out at Riverdale High School. You know, he's doing some lab work. Cuts his finger. Which Red Sonja and Vampirella, they're already on the case. You know, they've heard about all the weird stuff going on. They kind of sense it. So they decide to go to Riverdale to investigate. They go to the morgue, and they want to start checking on these bodies. Because all the bodies of the people that have been killed, they have a mark on their neck, which is the cult of chaos. It's something Vampirella is all too familiar with. Well, as they're checking that out, I think I skipped a page. No, I didn't. They just brushed things up quick. Betty and Veronica were also at the morgue because they're reporters for the high school paper. And yeah, apparently this high school paper covers murders, but they're they're investigating. Red Sonja and Vampirella, they become friends. Veronica takes him back to her mansion, dresses him up, and they're going to pass them off as foreign exchange students, which, Veronica's dad, I think, juiced it in a little bit there. He's rich. I still say he's the one that had Archie murdered in those original comic books, but that's just me. But because he was tired of his son, or he was tired of his daughter being taken advantage of by this guy who was sleeping around with that tramp Betty. But this is the only time you see Archie. He's just there. They notice him. That's it. It does not focus on them. Red Sonja decides to try out for the football team with Reggie, the Bulldogs, and she's Red Sonja, so she just beats the living shit out of everyone. Whereas Veronica has got Vampy going undercover as well as a cheerleader. And here you can see, once again, another murder happens in Riverdale. There's the pentagram. There's alternate covers for these books. Dynamite's the king of alternate covers, sometimes doing 6 or 7 per issue. But, they get taken in for some questioning. Everybody wants to know what's going on. The guidance counselor wants to know. Here they are at Pops. They're trying to figure out. Vampirella knows that it belongs to the Cult of Chaos, but she hasn't proved it yet. And, she's on the football team. A lot of just silliness. Not too silly, though, because it's still a Vampy book. They're going, as they're undercover, there's Jughead, as you can see. They're just kind of trying to check everything. George from the football team, now he's dead. They all kind of tie into this counselor. And here's Dilton Dooley. They think Dilton Dooley might, he's the local scientist. They think he might know how to maybe help this. And he finds out that there was a paper from years and years ago that you can clearly see is Betty and Veronica, Red Sonja and Vampirella. Maybe it's the ancestors. We don't know. Another alternate cover. They're looking in the yearbook. All these people look pretty familiar. Dilton gets attacked, but they're managed to be there. His attackers run off. He doesn't exactly die, but they don't exactly catch him either. Turns out all these people have the exact same blood type, and that's what's kind of stinging them together. And the people that work at the school, like the counselor, nurse, what have you, they know, these people's blood types, which is a little odd. They're all staying at Veronica's house because her parents are out of town again. That makes it convenient. At the police station, Vampirella decides she's going to check the morgue. Well, let me rephrase it. She heads off to the blood bank from the police station. I apologize. And they find her in there just drinking everything. And they think, okay, we got you. You're the killer. We're going to arrest you. So they arrest her. There's a nice throwback, one of the covers to one of the old Warren issues. Riverdale police, they're all saying, yep, that was her. She's in jail. They've solved the case. It's cracked. And Veronica's dad, the lawyer, gets her out of jail. Everybody still thinks she's a murderer. Red Sonja does drink a lot in this book, which always keeps her going. And Josie and the Pussycats, they're getting ready for a concert. Got to put them in there. Vampy takes one of Veronica's Lambos. They go to the Josie and the Pussycats concert because they know something bad is going to happen there. Sure enough, power's cut. There's the killer. Nice battle ensues, but the killer just evaporated into thin air. We don't know what's going on. But Dilton has come awake in the hospital now. Going to the final issue, there's Jughead again. Pops is closed. There's hysteria, so there's a curfew. Everything's going on. Dilton's telling him what he remembers about the attacker, which isn't too much, but Vampy and Red Sonja, they decide, okay, we're going to watch him. Because who's ever killed him, they want his blood. They're coming back, and sure enough, they do. Here come all the whole Cult of Chaos. Vampy and Red fight them off. Betty and Veronica are out there. They're down at the school, and they thought there was an emergency. They wanted evidence. Things have been kind of covered up, and it turns out that she's a part of the Cult of Chaos. The whole editorial staff of the paper is actually part of the Cult of Chaos. They just the promise was, if they help find these students, sacrifice them, they can get these people into the college of their choice. It's pretty, you got to keep it a little Archie in here too. And that's when we see Count Dracula. Yes, Count Dracula. Well, Veronica always kind of knew it was Dracula, but because Dracula's been a person that popped up in many of the books. He's explaining the grand plan, but there's Vampy. Dracula and Vampy have that long history because Dracula, according to the Vampirella lore, is actually from the planet of Dracula. And he just left long before anyone else and decided to kind of, like I said, her origin's been retrofitted, so we'll kind of get into that more as I do these Vampy Archive books. But this time, Red Sonja, she's got a plan. She brought the whole Bloodline football team to help. So just goes for a big fight. Everyone's going. Dracula and Red Sonja are going at it. Betty and Veronica are fighting with everybody. Just a crazy thing. All going nuts. Dilton Dooley's hijacked a bus. He's coming there. Riverdale police is on there. And, they think they got them all arrested. Of course, Dracula's in there. And then you find out the big reveal at the end, because they still haven't solved the mystery of why in the yearbook they all looked so familiar. And you see in the end, Draculina is there. And she's got some shenanigans to do with Count Dracula. We have to, the series, I believe, is done, but we have to wait for, if you want to wait like me, for Collected. Volume 2 is on its way. Then you get all these really nice, I love this one. I used it for the thumbnail. It's like an old Grindhouse poster. All the artwork is done, and I like how you get the combination. Some of the stuff, like here's a classic like Archie cover, but here's more of a classic Dynamite Vampy cover. The sketches. I like seeing Betty and Veronica drawn in the Vampirella style. There's Jughead and Archie's cheerleaders. And I like seeing Vampy and Red Sonja drawn in the Archie style, and I like seeing Betty and Veronica drawn in the Dynamite style. It's really neat. There's like a modern version of Archie with Vampy and Red Sonja. That's gonna, obviously, I'm thinking Archie will play a bigger part in the next one. I don't know. But yeah, you get just a ton of photos, and they're all really, really good. Like I said, it's the different variations of art. Vampirella art has always been borderline amazing from all the way back in the Warren days. I like this one. It was a cover. It's an old TV Guide ad. And it even tells you, tonight, the girls go undercover in a deadly game of cat and mouse. It's Red Sonja and Vampirella meet Betty and Veronica. Also got on Paging Dr. Betty, Seymour, My Son, On the Harry, The Katie Keene Show. Fist of the Dragon is going to be one of the movies going to thwart a drug smuggler plot. Turok Adventures, Madam Satan's Mayhem Theater, Jughead's Diner Game Show. Betty Cooper, that's a serial. The Spider, an old pulp hero. More artwork. That's a nice one. Betty and Veronica, the blood sugar. Because you always got Archie, you got to work the musical shit in there, which they do a lot this season in Riverdale, which is a little odd. This is another good one to take on an old VHS cover. We'll keep going. There they are, Tu Wong Fu cover in the Archie style. Just really neat. Here's the number 5. That's like an old EC, Tales from the Crypt type book, or I should say Warren in the case of Vampy. Just a lot of good art. I like that one, the blood vials with Veronica and Betty. Getting kind of close to the end. In Red Sonja and Vampirella, this is a video game cartridge where they're fighting Dracula. I like that because they have the whole Vampire Slayer thing going. Free newspaper. And another Archie one. Now Red Sonja and Vampire with Archie. Betty and Veronica are a little jealous of that. More of the Riverdale style. And then, of course, your ads. The Red Sonja series. 50 Years of Vampirella series. Coming soon, Volume 2. Volume soon is coming too. I'll look up the date here before we get back to it. But this is it. This is Volume 1. Let's go back for a final thought. Sometimes the silliest stuff can bring the most enjoyment. It comes in small packages. It did for me in Archie Meets Riverdale, number 1. Still should be able to get it at your local comic shop. I don't think it's sold out by any means. I liked it. It was fun. I don't want any more. I don't need any more crossovers. If they do it, you got to do it a little bit more in the horror vein. But like I kind of showed in the back, there was the Punisher meets Archie. That's where the Punisher, he had a picture of a mob guy he wanted to kill, looked like Jughead. So he came there to kill him. Came to Riverdale. That was good. Archie Meets Batman 66. I wasn't a big fan of, but I'm not a fan of the Batman 66 comics at all, which is odd because I liked the television show. I don't care for the comic. I like some of the covers, but that was one I didn't like. Archie versus the Predator I really liked, and I'll give you a tip. Yes, the Predator does straight up murder these people, and he kills a lot of people in Riverdale, a lot of big names. It's not, oh, well, they're going to trick the Predator with a net or something goofy like that. No, it's the real Predator. He comes to Riverdale and starts murdering all of them. There's a sequel to it. Of course, I don't want to get into that because then I give away some of what happened in the first one, but that's a good read. That's available in hardcover. That was a miniseries. Archie has gone against the Sharknado. They've been changing it around. It appeals to, You're not going to get rich buying these, but you're going to get a good read. I would recommend him. This is Archie meets Riverdale. It's just a one shot. You can get it at your local comic shop. I'd recommend picking it up. I'd recommend, and I would appreciate a like and a subscribe. Let me know what you think of the show Riverdale, and we'll see you tomorrow.